We are live. Eric Reibe, will he become a UConn Husky? The latest in a slew of recruitment activity. Find out. Coming up soon.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's live show, take a quick moment to like and subscribe to the podcast here. It really helps the show grow. I genuinely appreciate the support. Every follow, subscription, download not only helps build our UConn community, but also generates more revenue for UConn NIL initiatives like Bleeding Blue for Good. There's something else we're doing now. I'm donating 10% of all revenue to Husky Ticket Project. I'm proud to partner with them and help send kids to games and make a real difference. Thank you for everyone that's donating and being a part of this journey. In addition to this, Big Larry, who is a friend of the program, who's also whose tickets we donate generously to people every week. We're giving away $230 we're donating $230 to Husky Ticket Project in Eric Reibe's name. If he commits to UConn, we're trying to do that for every recruit going forward. So if someone's interested in helping us out with that and donating some more, please let me know. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was, by the way, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So we are going to talk about what this all means with Eric Reibe, who he is, what he brings to the table. He's a 7-footer. He brings a remarkable array of skills to UConn, potentially, because it's not official yet, as their top recruiting target. We got that confirmation from Colby Jacobino of 247, who's in the Maryland area. This is a high priority target for UConn. His footwork, particularly his pick and roll, ability to kind of be on ball and also handle dribble handoffs. He's a standout in this class. I also love, when I looked at his film, his ability to navigate screens and process that information with exceptional speed and split-second decisions, whether to slip to the basket or fade out to the three-point line. This versatility makes him a nightmare for defenders and opens up numerous options for UConn. They're already high-powered offense. Some of the stuff that we're seeing about the clues of why this is a crystal ball for Colby and others now, and is Eric also going to different social media accounts and following them. Now, that doesn't always mean what I think it means, but it's the day of his announcement. A slew of players on Instagram, certain media accounts on X are being followed, including Big Larry's, where he said it's over because he got a follow from Eric. I think this is a special potential ad for the Huskies. I'm going to pull up the YouTube feed for 247 so we can all rejoice if and when Eric does decide to go live with this. And I'm going to mute it on my end as I talk to you guys, and we'll go from there. But look, I think I did an entire show one time talking about the differences in maybe who's more pro ready coming into the pros, into UConn. Is it Donovan Clingan, who's now with the Portland Trail Blazers and is a 2-time national champion with the UConn Huskies? Or is it Eric, who is from the Bullish School in Maryland? He's a kid who's really interesting to me because I love his background, growing up overseas and then coming to the States at 16, and really kind of, sometimes a kid like that is a little more mature and pro ready just from that perspective. So also his game is different. Donovan was a bull. He was almost 290 pounds, almost 300 pounds in high school, and got himself down to like a svelte 280, 290 when he was with UConn. So Reibe's got that kind of rare stretch five that people in the pros dream about. He's got incredible 3-point shooting. it's not rare in the game of basketball now to see a 7-footer hitting threes, but it's rare at the college level to have a kid of this size that's a proven shooter from behind the arc. It just adds a different dimension. And that dimension in UConn's offense that can really stretch defenses beyond the arc. I mean, think about the spacing that UConn tries to create even when you just watch that scrimmage. Now imagine if you had a 7-footer like Eric who can pull a defender away from the hoop, and you have slashers like Darius Adams, like people who are on the team right now, like Aiden Mahaney, that has more freedom to get to the basket without worrying about someone blocking their shot. So the love I have for this pick is not simply because he's 7 foot. It's because of the different myriad of options that Dan Hurley and his staff are going to create with him. You're already starting to see a little bit of difference with Samson Johnson's game of him initiating offense from the top of the key and kind of dribbling in and handing off. You're going to be able to do that with Eric from further out because they're going to have to respect the fact that he can shoot threes. So he's a perfect complement to what UConn is trying to do. And I'm really excited about the prospect of him taking that, whatever it's a shirt or a hat and putting that Husky logo on. I wore my breaking tee UConn runs college basketball because, I mean, is there really any question at this point? So I'm really excited about where we're going to go with this. Let's look at some of the comments. If there's no comments, we have 103 people in here and no one's talking about it. Okay. I know we're all kind of waiting around to see. We got 6 more minutes to see what his decision will be. In that time, I'm going to take a quick break and pay some bills and talk to you guys about our sponsors, and then we'll be back with more talk about Eric Reibe. What's up, everybody? Let's get this banner down because we're talking about game time. Game time. Are you guys ready to come to watch UConn versus Wake Forest next Saturday live or this Saturday live? There's nothing like the energy of a live game at the Rent. Now you can grab tickets easily with Game Time. Game Time makes you find tickets for your favorite events fast and hassle-free. With their Game Time Picks feature, you can get access to amazing deals on the best seats without all the fluff. You can even check out the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. And right now, you can save big on your first purchase. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Whether you're looking for the last-minute deals or planning ahead, Game Time has you covered. Don't miss out on UConn versus Wake Forest at the Rent. Grab your tickets. It gets 12 noon start on Game Time and experience the excitement live. Download the app today. Use Locked On College and take $20 off your first purchase with that promo code. All right, we're back. Let's get my tag up there. If you guys don't already follow me, go to Twitter and use @MarksNettoCBB. Just looking at the chat from the Eric Reibe YouTube channel here, how crazy it's going to be when he dons the UConn blue, red, and white here. If you guys don't know about him, just thinking about what Dan Hurley looks for in some of these guys, and the one thing that really stood out for me is basketball IQ matters to him more than just the talent around, because all the players now, if you're being recruited by UConn, you're either a borderline 5-star, 4-star, 5-star, or you're a bona fide 5-star. Eric is considered on 24/7 or 247 a 4-star. On almost every other publication, he's a 5-star. So we're doing what every scouting place does, which is I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt of earning his 5-star ranking, because some have him, and I'm not going to tell him that he's a 4-star just because one recruiting entity doesn't have him there. So, but the point of that is Dan and assistant Luke Murray are eagerly anticipating this guy's impact, because he's not just a guy that can do certain things. And you can say this about a potential recruit for next week with Braylon Mullins, which is they bring traditional skills in shooting, in IQ, in the ability to make the right play. but it's always going to be about processing information quickly. For you NFL fans or college football fans, if you have a quarterback who processes information fast, that is almost better than if you have a quarterback with a howitzer for an arm. If you have both, then you're cooking. But the idea is, like, no one's going to tell me that Alex Caravan has elite speed. But what we're going to tell you is that he has elite processing ability of how to play basketball. And that's where he's always a step, maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of his competition. And he's a born winner and has created that opportunity for himself in a UConn uniform and is going to continue to do so. I think they look at Eric Reibe not like an Alex Caravan, but a like Donovan Clingan light. And I don't want to say, Kling Klong Jr. and all that stuff, but it's going to be different. He's going to have come in with the same type of fanfare and clout. Probably not, because Donovan was a Connecticut kid. But what he is going to come in with is a lot of expectations. You're coming into a UConn squad coming off of what could potentially be a three-peat. They look pretty good on the other day, on Monday night. But what I'm really interested in is, would they play Eric at the 4 as a 7-footer that can step out and shoot threes, and then Terrace Reed at the 5? The answer to that question is probably no, because the whole idea of UConn's offense is to create space, and you wouldn't want Terrace to clog up the middle while Eric is out on the wing. So I'm curious to see what happens. We're doing that next week. Nick, it's so funny you say that. We're actually doing a I just got can you guys still hear me? If you're listening and this is going on, I'm sure you guys can still hear me in the chat, but because I muted the stream of 247. But yes, Locked On Hoosiers and I are doing a live stream together next week on the 23rd with Braylon. So this is I don't think we have a Locked On Jays, Mark. Do we have a Locked On Jays? That's a great question. Locked On Jays. No way. No, it's not that. It's Locked On Blue Jays. Definitely not Creighton, though. Okay. But that's funny. This is another great question. I don't think so. I think they could, but I think Nico is going to go to Ohio State. I still think the only other option for potentially to have Nico as a Husky is if, I don't know, if Nico decides like Liam did and does a late switch. Right now, 247 is going over. He's a 4 or 5 star. His national rank is 27. Position rank is 4. They have him obviously in the state of Maryland as the number 1 center in the country. He's 7 foot, 235 pounds. You see what I'm saying between the difference between him and Donovan? Looking at these clips, his ability to drive to the hoop and use either his left or his right, which is fantastic. He's also a really smooth left-handed shooter. So it's one of those things where he is a very rare find. And I think that's why Indiana's in the mix, Kansas is in the mix, Creighton, obviously, because they brought in Kalkbrenner. But UConn is likely going to be the team that gets him. And we're kind of anxiously awaiting. Oh, here we go. He's on the screen. If you guys are on with me and you're not watching, I will definitely tell you the moment that he is a UConn Husky or otherwise. Freeze. Let's see here. Nope. Still going on. So anyway, I know this isn't exactly riveting TV as we're waiting for the announcement, but I will tell you that there is not a player in this class that will mean more to any team in the country than if Eric does come to Stores, because of the way that UConn can use him in different ways. So let's see. For who would run a great pick and roll with Reibe. Yeah, I think so too. But so would Darius Adams and Braylon Mullins. So he's got his. I think he's got his dad with him. It's on mute, pretty sure, and he's got like a zip. So I'm sure that zip's going to come down, and we're going to see a UConn logo. So we'll see what happens. I think if Furphy's another guy that if he decides late that they could take a flyer on because he's another European kid, Australian kid, international kid, who is a fantastic player, pro ready. We'll just see. I think we're all kind of figuring it out. And the good news is about these announcements is they typically don't drag them out, and so we're anxiously awaiting if Eric is going to come to UConn. So I'm gonna put this out there. I don't know if we'll be able to get him, but if we already sent out an open invitation to Eric to come on the podcast if he so chooses to talk about his recruiting. I know he's doing an interview with Adam Zagoria of Zag's blog, a friend of the show. So would love for you guys to go check his stuff out and see if get some insight into why he chose or who he chose, if it's UConn. And even honestly, even if I would love for a recruit to come on that didn't choose UConn and tell me why. Like, not that it's a bad thing, because I think that these guys choose programs based on their preference, and it's not always going to be the UConn Huskies who we know and love, but it's okay if they don't. Again, waiting on this live, and I think they're getting ready to talk through it. Let's see. He's talking about his dad and his whole family, and he, really loves them coming through. Let's see. He's thanking all of his family, and I love it. Good kid. Going to a prep school in Washington, D.C. Can't be easy. All right, here it comes. Where is he going? Woo! UConn, baby. Here we go. Love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And he's officially a Husky, guys. He's coming to UConn. We've been talking to you guys about this for months, it seems like. It felt good for a while, and then it kind of starting to hear Creighton, starting to hear Kansas get in the mix, but ultimately we're the best at this. I go back to, I got an email from a fan who talked about how he was on a plane with Luke Murray and saw the FaceTime of Eric and him together, and he was saying, "Let's go UConn," the whole thing on the plane, and was wearing a UConn jersey and talking about how Hurley was the best and all this other stuff. So yeah, man, like at that point I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, those kind of little happenstance things don't always go our way, but I'm really excited that he was coming to UConn. And I don't think I was the first one to call it, but I was definitely on the Reibe to UConn train. And if we do get him on the show, I want to hear how he says his name so I can stop calling it two different things. But we are the basketball capital of the world. Let me take one break, guys, and then everybody that's in the chat, stay with me. I want to talk through this a little more and what this is going to look like next year, and how excited we're all going to be. But also, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to them, and we'll go on for another 5-10 minutes after the break. What's up, my friends at FanDuel? Do you know that now you can get $200 in bonus bets if you bet $5? If you're brand new to it, whether you're big on NFL, UConn, whatever you bet on, you have a hunch on something, you can get latest stats, live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place your bets, all in the app on FanDuel. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we're back on Locked On UConn with Mark Zanetto. I hope you guys are enjoying the fact that we just got the best center in the class. 5-star recruit Eric Reibe joins the UConn Huskies for the 25-26 season. He joins Darius Adams. And as we said, we're going to try to get him on the show to talk through it all. Seems like a great kid, super humble, understands what he wants to do and where he wants to go. I want to talk about this really quick, because if you think about this team and where it's going to be for the following year, the amount of talent that they're going to have is just fantastic. Let's look at some of these chats. Look at some of this stuff. I agree with that. I'm predicting he's going to go to UConn. John, I agree. DH is getting the kids he's targeting. He's also getting the kids that fit his profile. Think about where this kid is. He's played in Europe. He's got the profile of being already a professional. He's looking to make the next step. He's got great parents. He's got a great support system around him. There's no red flags. These are the things that they want to do. And this is the system that they try to protect at all costs. They do not want anyone to crack this little bubble that they've created where, everything seems to come up roses. What else we got? Yes. We're going to keep that positivity. You'd be surprised how many hoops and hurdles you have to go through to get some people on your show. Sometimes it's super easy, sometimes it's not, but I appreciate that. Let's see. Boom. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to put this in the chat, guys. If I'm live right now, and I'm doing this for my guy, Adam Zagoria. He is, so if you can go to this, it's on X, but I'm going to put it in the chat. Go check that out. He's a great friend of the show. He comes on all the time, gives us some great insight. Do him a favor and go to his website. Check out the interview with Eric. Let's see. No, I don't think Mondalo is still in play, Christopher. I think what's going to end up happening is the dominoes are going to continue to drop. I think we get Braylon Mullins next. We have our another set of freshman backcourts who I feel like is going to be phenomenal for us. Then to add that to Ahmad Noel and Aiden Mahaney, who are still going to be in the mix next year. And then I think and if Liam stays for one more year, we'll see what his decision is on all that. But that's what I was just getting ready to talk about, is the idea that we're going to have these players in the mix next year. And this could mean that Aiden's going to stay, Terrace is going to stay. Think about the freshmen that we have that are going to be sophomores next year: Ahmad, Isaiah, and Liam. I think he's a surefire one and done, but I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. You don't stay at a place where you feel like you're going to lose your draft stock. You think it's going to get better. That's why Alex Caravan came back. Sophomores, who stays? Jaden Ross probably stays. If Solo has a great year, but not a good enough year where he tests the waters in the NBA draft, and they say, if you play one more year similar to what you played this year at UConn, you'll be a lottery pick. Maybe he sticks around. So you have Jay Ross, maybe Solo, Youssef. I think Jay Stewart is going almost regardless, because 6'7", 6'8", and plays the way he does on both defense and offense, regardless of his stats this year. I think he ends up going to the pros. Juniors, you have Aiden and Terrace, and there's no real seniors. So then you'd have the freshmen coming in, which is Darius Adams, Eric Reibe, and potentially whoever else they recruit, calling Braylon Mullins next, would give you a core of guards of Ahmad, Aiden, Braylon, and Darius, with wings of J. Ross, Solo, Zay, and a front court of Terrace, Eric, and Youssef, without even thinking about the transfer portal. So you have to really think about how amazing this would be, and an embarrassment of riches. And think about what we watched in the scrimmage with the amount of people who can shoot. Remember, I keep bringing this up, and I know it sounds like just absolute a broken record, but Dan Hurley never wants to go back to the Teddy Allen days where we have great players and people, but we have nobody that's a consistent shooter, or maybe just one guy. And then if that guy doesn't shoot well, then, oh man, we really have to grind it out in a 50 to 52 game. You're never, ever going to see that at UConn again as long as Dan Hurley is involved. He is going to have a high-octane offense that is always going to score or potentially score more than their opponents. Not to sound simplistic, but that's truly his goal. Does he want them to slack off on defense? Absolutely not. But if we give up 75 points in a game, but we shoot 70% from the floor and get 102 points, no one's going to go home upset. Like, he may have things to frustrate, to focus on, but it's never going to be like it used to be, where it's like you're so mad watching the product. Like this is why it's so amazing right now to be a UConn fan. It's not just because of the players that we're getting, but the style of offense that you get to watch. It's truly like when I was a kid and Kurt Warner and the Rams were like the greatest show on turf. It's like you didn't know who was going to get the 200-yard game that day because there was about 4 different receivers you could go to. And this is what we have right now in stores. Let's go to the chat here. Yes, this is also kind of funny. I do have a really good friend who's an Indiana alum who played basketball there, who I feel bad for, but this is all going to happen. Let's see. If they get Mullins, is he a starter? I'm going to give you the Dan Hurley line. He's got an opportunity to be a starter. Can he come in and show that he's better than Aiden Mahaney, who's still going to be here, that's already going to have a freshman in Ahmad Noel, who's going to have a year under his belt? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Darius Adams is going to have something to say about that too. Third string big looked pretty good the other night also. Yeah, Youssef looked great. I hope Youssef stays. I think that's another great it's such a great point. If Youssef stays for a junior year, I think he could truly, really contribute, because I honestly think, and I could be wrong on this, that Eric could play the 4. He doesn't have to be down low, banging with the bigs the way Donovan was, because he can shoot it, guys. Like, this is a 40% plus 3-point shooter in college, who's kind of a true European stretch 4 or 5. I don't know, Gary. I think he's got an opportunity to, but it's going to be all about where they see him. I think they see him as a center, but when they get him in summer workouts, it's a long season of kind of understanding that where he's going to end up being. And I don't know. We'll find out. I think he's got a good opportunity to, but if he doesn't, he's going to get a hell of a lot of minutes. Let's see. Yeah, Gary, also a great question. I think Donovan could shoot threes, but he wasn't exactly doing that in high school. He was just so good and dominant. He played at Bristol Central High School in my old stomping grounds in the CCC South, where it wasn't this kind of like academy factory that in this prep school that Eric's working at. But I mean, obviously Donovan played AAU. I think there's a difference. I think Eric's more of a today's big, whereas Donovan is kind of like a old school Bill Walton, very efficient, good blocking style, meaning block a bunch of shots, can shoot with both hands, raw when it comes to some of his offensive skills, but so big that he takes up so much space, whereas Eric's going to have to learn to create a little more space and probably put on a little weight. Love to see Eric at like 250. He's 235 right now. So if he gains about 15 pounds, I mean, he could be a force down low as well as being a really good shooter because he can shoot threes. Let's see. That's a great question, Jim. I don't know. Not that I've heard. I think if and when, and I still think there's a small chance that Mullins doesn't commit to UConn. And I say small just to give you guys some pause. I think Braylon is coming. Let's see. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I think there's a really good chance that Braylon is a Husky. So it's interesting to me. Couple names. If Nico Bondalo holds off and says maybe I want to join a really good team in UConn versus going to Ohio State and kind of being their focal point, or because I think they're out on Nico right now. I think obviously with Eric here, and then on top of it, if Jacob Furphy doesn't commit to Illinois, or he decides to kind of hold off his recruitment and recruits late or comes in late like Liam did, that's a possibility. So I think right now we're good if Braylon comes, but stay locked on. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, Peter. I think Solo's good, but I don't necessarily know if you can call him a lottery pick yet. I think he's got the opportunity to be one, but he's got to prove it through a season, not just a scrimmage. And I think if he does that, then I think you're probably going to be right. But I wouldn't leave up that the realm of possibility that he's back next year. We'll see. But that's also one of the reasons why I've said they're going after more than 3 players, is because they feel like a guy like Solo, like Liam, like Jalen are all going to go. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I don't want to say one or the other because no one truly knows the truth. Yes, Mullins is the 23rd. I will be doing a live feed with Locked On Hoosiers. Be nice to my fellow Locked On host, and we'll just kind of keep it moving here. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna close up shop for the day. Really appreciate all. We got 230 people in the chat at one point. 1,000%, Mike. I think he does have those measurables, especially in the wingspan, 6'10" wingspan. Can definitely play off the ball and on the ball. I think NBA evaluators have a different idea of what they're looking for, and he's not 6'6", he's 6'3". So even though he can jump out of the gym and he does have the skill set of an elite NBA guard, there could be some folks that shy away if just based off of his size. What was this one on Mullins? Yeah, dude, he's not going to Indiana. Let's just call it what it is. I'm going on a limb and saying he's 100% coming to UConn. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Does anyone have a post game at all? I understand why Modern Hoops play the bigger than one of those teams is they could dump it inside when they needed to. Yeah, Jeff, it's not one of the big reasons why they won the last 2 seasons is because they were collectively good and their offense was efficient. Does that help to have 7'3" Donovan Clingan to be the most dominant player in college basketball? Sure, but you're not always going to have that. And I think that's one of the things that you guys, Jeff, you and anyone else included, is they didn't have that. The last year they had a really good post player in Adama Sanogo. And I'm not saying just because you have 3-point shooting, you're going to win. This kid, Reibe, has, and apparently it's pronounced Reibe. Reibe has good post moves. He's just not like physically built. He's 7'1", 235 pounds. Maybe he gets that going forward. I think Terrace Reed has the ability to be an Adama Sanogo light. I think as he develops, I think Youssef can potentially be that. But as far as post play, the days of there being 7'2" centers that you just dump it down low and let them go to work is over. Because let's be honest, even when they did dump it down low to Donovan, there was all kinds of action around him that created spacing for 3-point kickouts or cuts to the basket. So you have to understand that even when you're talking about modern hoops is played without the ball. Old school hoops is ISO, where we just kind of like, let's just get out of the way. And so I agree to a certain respect, Jeff, but I disagree that that it was a big reason. It was a big part of it. It was one of the reasons why UConn won the past 2 years. I could totally disagree with this point that Solo is a Bruce Brown, from San Antonio. I thought honestly, I thought you meant Pretty Rides. I thought you meant Bruce Bowen. I was like, what are you talking about? My bad. Yes, Brucey Brown, Denver, good player. 6'3" isn't short, but it's not the prototypical shooting guard in the NBA. That's all. Yeah, I also disagree with this, but I appreciate it. I think Spider he was fantastic coming out of the gates. I don't know if Solos has that much in his bag, but then again, you know what's so great about the UConn team is there's no individual player that you can stand out for this. That it's one of those where you find out more about the player as they go pro. Like, how much are we finding out? We knew Steph had it because they talked about it, but how much more are we finding out in Steph in the preseason? I mean, I've seen so many people put money on him winning Rookie of the Year now. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I really appreciate you guys jumping on the pod live and showing some love. And Eric Reibe, a UConn Husky, I finally am known as how to say his name right. So, really appreciate you guys as always. Stay locked on, stay connected. Make sure those toughness meters are up here. They're rising. Because guess what? We're in dynasty mode, baby. You're locked on.